The numbers told the story. They always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gil Alexander on VSiN.
Morning, folks. Welcome in. We are presented by BetMGM. I'm Jonathan Von Tobel, filling in for Gil Alexander, a fellow idiot, though, who believes in analytics. So I feel like it kind of fits to a certain extent. We got a good show on tap for you today. I think we're going to try to hunt down Chris Felica at some point. I think there's a horse race coming up this weekend. And he's on the ground at the Derby, huh? I can't hear Kelley, so I would probably make sure that our audience could hear him too. But yes, Chris Felica will be on the scene. And we'll talk a little bit about the big news, right? We had multiple horses drop out of this thing, so we'll have to talk about Chris Felica and what that is going to mean. Lou Finocchiaro, VSiN contributor, is going to come up in the second hour, as we'll talk about UFC 288 and what's going to go down on the ice. And Paul Zilm, Circus Sportsbook risk supervisor, coming at the bottom of the second hour. But we begin, as we usually do, with a little bit about last night. And it was kind of a snoozer, much like the other one. 127-100. The Golden State Warriors get a series split in the first two games at home with the Los Angeles Lakers. Now they go and head back to Los Angeles. And this is why I love basketball, and it's why you like playoff basketball, best-of-7 series, game-to-game adjustments. And you saw the game-to-game adjustment here from the Golden State Warriors in this game. Now, many of the same things, philosophies, were out there for the Golden State Warriors. They shot a lot of threes. They got out and ran. But some of the changes that you saw for this team in this game against the Los Angeles Lakers was absolutely massive, and it begins with the lineup change. JaMychal Green gets placed into the starting lineup, and you saw immediately what the goal was going to be for the Golden State Warriors, which was spread them out while adding size to what we can do as a team, both offensively and defensively. JaMychal Green's presence along the three-point line, he's enough of a threat that you've got to respect him as a shooter, a career, I think we talked about this yesterday, 36.9, 37% three-point shooter. And his presence out there made all the difference in the world. And we talked about this yesterday, Kelley, right? One of the adjustments in the fourth quarter that carried over to yesterday in this game, in game two, Steph Curry ran almost every single pick and roll. And you saw multiple times, 3 Los Angeles Lakers on him, 2 Los Angeles Lakers on him. And so what do you get? You get out of Steph Curry 11 assists in this game. And when you watch, and that was, I think, in non-garbage time. I think he had one more at the end of the fourth quarter there in those last, 9-10 minutes. So I think he finished with 12. But you saw that Curry is able to run the point, as we know. And if guys like Klay Thompson and others are going to actually hit open shots and do what they're supposed to do, you get a win like this. I thought there were 2 keys, but I want to get your thoughts on this, 2 consistent stats that, as we kind of move forward in the series, have shown through the first 2 games. Tell you this, Kelley. My confidence was shaken in game 1. Solid as a rock, baby. Knew it the whole time. Let's go.
You're back now. Yeah, you're back now. That was, nice win by the Warriors last night. Look, I mean, the AD, there's so much you can hit on with the Lakers side of this. Obviously, Anthony Davis completely disappearing, which has now become a thing throughout this playoffs.
It's kind of weird, man.
It really is. It really is. We've even got the graphic right here of what he's done, game 1 in this series versus game 2, and then look all the way back through that Memphis series and what he did. It's like big game, bad game, big game, bad game, big game, bad game. So having said that, I already played over his point prop in game 3. But him completely disappearing, that was such a part of the success that we saw from them in game 1. LeBron, may I say, quit down the stretch. That is, he had
a good first half. Did he have
21 points in the first half. He had 2 points after.
And then he was like, "Oh, you guys aren't going to show up? All right."
Exactly. Why am I going to expend the energy? Might as well save it for game 3. That was the vibe I picked up from the Lakers, basically post halftime, right? Or really end of that second half, but really, or end of the second quarter, but really into the second half. You felt that way from the Lakers side of things. And then, look, the Warriors made the adjustments they needed to make. Did they maybe get a little lucky, JVT, that Kevon Looney wasn't feeling well and they needed to switch up that starting lineup anyways? Yeah, maybe they did, because maybe they did figure out some things that we kind of thought they would go to.
One of the guys we
anyways.
talked about was JaMychal Green, right? You need more minutes out of JaMychal Green to spread that floor out, and sure enough, he helped.
Yep, and then look, Steph is, Steph, LeBron, when we talk about these types of players, they are great and some of the greatest of all times for a reason, right? When Steph knows he needs to go into point guard mode and distributor mode more than score every bucket for my team, I can. And just like LeBron can, and these guys do it, and they do it unselfishly. And look, that's what they needed to happen from Steph last night for them to get that win, and that's what they did.
Yeah, and that goes back to when I had the hot take of Steph Curry, greatest player of all time. I mean it. It's like when you look at him and the way that he can change his role, I think it's very disrespectful to a Steph Curry to call him just a shooter or scorer.
Yep.
Because he is a well-rounded player. He can finish with as much efficiency as the next guard in front of him. Like, he is great within 4 feet if he wants to be, if he has to be. Obviously, we know him as a shooter. As a distributor, you saw it yesterday. I mean, there was a great sequence where they were showing, I think it was like the second or third quarter, where he gets the ball, right, Kelley? And so he tries to like kind of probe into like the area where it's like the left elbow. And they freeze it. And it's literally Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Jared Vanderbilt. All like this, like all around him. You know what that possession ends up in? In a laced pass between the two of them for an assist and a layup by Kevon Looney. Mm-hmm. Like he is brilliant at what he wants to do here. So I mentioned the two things that what I've seen through 2 games, why I'm all the way in 100%, right? Confidence was never shaken. I don't know what you're talking about. The first is obviously the three-point shooting. It's hard not to, right? Through 2 games, the Warriors have shot at a really good clip. Yesterday, they shot 55.9%. Are they going to do that again? No. But that was and by the way, the numbers I'm reciting to you at 55.9%, you'll hear some numbers that are off from the final box score. These are all garbage or non-garbage time numbers. It sorts out the end of the fourth quarter. So they shot 55.9% on threes in non-garbage time yesterday. 19 of 34. They had 10 more made three-pointers in non-garbage time than the Los Angeles Lakers. It's pretty safe in saying that that's going to carry over, right, throughout the entire series as we move forward here.
Yeah.
The other thing, Kelley, that we talked about, an offensive rating in transition off live rebounds in Game 1 of 126, 166.7 here in Game 2. Mm-hmm. They have been able to run with efficiency. They have been able to get out transition, and they've been able to score efficiently in transition through 2 games now. And I think that's kind of what you're hanging your hat on if you're moving forward here in this series is we're going to win the math battle, and they haven't been able to stop us in transition. And now the onus is on the Lakers to adjust. And my question would be is, all right, if you're the Warriors, you had the adjustment. You had the power forward you could put that could shoot, that you could space out the floor with. You have Steph Curry at point guard that you can now start to use, run all your pick and rolls. What's the adjustment for the Los Angeles Lakers now with this team? Because while they're deep and they have a good supporting cast, I feel like they're kind of rigid in what they can actually do as a group when it comes to matching up with Golden State.
I mean, I think it's why we brought this up after Game 1, but it's Anthony Davis is the most important player in this series because of that, right? He's got to be down low inside there to get rebounds, to stop those fast break opportunities, to make easy buckets down low over a team that doesn't have the size that shouldn't be able to match up with him down low, as well as some other teams in the league. And if he's making easy buckets there, if they're getting to the free throw line, that slows down those transition opportunities for Golden State. But it's all those dominoes fall once they start doing those things down low and inside, right, JVT? So I just they don't have a chance. Like, I don't think the Lakers have a chance unless they're getting those kind of buckets and those kind of trips to the free throw line.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. And you know what you saw yesterday, too, defensively from Golden State that I think carries over? Like, again, they gave Jared Vanderbilt the Russell Westbrook treatment where they were just like, go ahead. Like, they didn't try to close out on him. They didn't do anything. They allowed him to take shots. First quarter, I think he hit 1, and then it was really hit or miss after that. And you know what? Like, they're actually doing it, Kelley, to LeBron. There's a couple of times where LeBron caught the ball, like that free throw extended, and they were like, go ahead, man. Like, we're not going to close out on you. We're not going to give you the opportunity to then blow by us if we close out too hard. We will live, if we lose this game, by you hitting mid-range jumpers. And if that's the way that this is going to go, then that's the way that this is going to go. And they did it with Anthony Davis, too. Like, the whole different challenge here is now, okay, you're fine. You know what? You want to be front court oriented. You want to get to the free throw line. You're going to meet 3 smaller guys, but still, it's going to be 3 dudes here because we're not respecting you guys as shooters. Maybe D'Angelo Russell, right? We have to close out on him because he's a good shooter. But other than that, there's 3 guys on the floor at one time that you can kind of like lazily go out to challenge if you really want. And I think that's, when I go back to that word rigidity, that's what I think I mean with it when it comes to the rigidity of the Lakers, where it's like, yes, you have that massive advantage, but you saw that adjustment now. What's the adjustment? Can you just get better at shooting? Like, I think that's kind of a really big challenge for the Lakers.
Well, I mean, it sounds silly. You know, I mean, you're right. But like that, yes, like that's what you, like it's AD at the beginning. It's the AD. Jeez.
Oh, no. What was that? Oh, Kelly's got you got your sound on?
Something playing out of my computer, yeah.
Good thing it wasn't anything inappropriate.
It's AD at the beginning of that game, right, where he's getting into the paint, and then he's missing those, right? He missed like 3 of those to start. And those are, okay, he's got to make those and continue to be aggressive. One other thing I wanted to bring up real quick, GVT, about this, like from a player prop betting perspective, I know there was a lot made about LeBron. Like, I actually ended up betting this yesterday over LeBron's threes. I know it's been brought up a lot of how poorly he's been shooting the 3 ball in the postseason, but if he's taking this many attempts, and I don't know why it will stop. You know, especially if they go back to focusing on AD inside. We know the Warriors are going to sag off him and let him take these shots. If he's hoisted up 8, 9 a game, I'm going to keep betting over 2.5. I'm gonna bet that he can hit 30% of his threes.
He can't. Like, that's kind of the thing is, you know, you can get, and I do wonder, as we kind of saw at the end of that Grizzly series, right? You saw a Lakers team in a couple of those games that looked pretty taxed. Like, it took a lot to get out of that series for the Los Angeles Lakers. And I think a symptom, right, of that is LeBron James just taking a few more jumpers. Maybe he's got like 1 or 2 games in him in a series where he can go out and be old school LeBron, where he's going downhill and attacking the basket in half-court settings, but it has been few and far between. Now, he did show up in Game 4 with that game-time bucket at the end and, of course, the big layup over Dylan Brooks, but that was one game. The rest of those, the other 2, were relatively comfortable victories for the Los Angeles Lakers. All right, when we come back, by the way, Game 3 back in L.A., Lakers a 3.5-point favorite, total of 227, adjusted series price. Warriors are now a -115 favorite, despite being an underdog for Game 3. We'll have more on that, but when we return, we do have 2 games later tonight. Can the Denver Nuggets take a crucial 3-1 series lead over the Phoenix Suns? I say, and I think Kelley does too, absolutely. We'll talk about it when we return.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It's time to download Nevada's premier sports betting app, BetMGM Sports. BetMGM has all your favorite wagering options, along with in-game betting boosted odds specials and much more. Download the BetMGM app today. Stop by any MGM casino on the Strip with your state issued ID. Open an account and start placing sports bets from anywhere in Nevada. Whatever your sport, whatever your betting style, you're going to love BetMGM's state-of-the-art technology and fan-friendly specials every day of the week. Visit BetMGM for terms and conditions. Got to be 21 and physically located in Nevada, not spiritually. Please gamble responsibly, and if you have a problem, 1-800-522-4700. I wanted to harken back really quickly to last night and get one more point in and get your thoughts on this.
I love harkening back.
Yeah, right? It's a good word.
It's a great word.
And you weren't on the podcast yesterday, so I didn't get to. You know, I talked into the endless void. Steven, our producer, I was listening, though, so that was good. That felt comfortable, right? I was a little bit more comfortable there. I posed the question to nobody. I guess I posed it to Steven, who didn't answer. What is it when it comes to what's the price that's worth paying when it comes to trends? Right, because one of the trends from last night, and those who, you know, like trends, whatever, this is just a conversation I want to have. Don't be like, oh, trends, they mean nothing. I get it. And this is kind of where I wanted to take this. Kelley, now, let me get the exact number for you here really quickly so we can tell our audience and tell you what I'm actually asking here.
Game 2s.
Teams down 1-0 in the series at home in Game 2. Now 21-1 straight up, 20-2 against the spread since 2019. There you go. So, part of me wants to go like, look, Game 1 closed 4.5. This game closed 7. I think 7.5 in some spots, right?
Jeez, did it really?
I know. I think I saw a couple of 7s. Regardless, let's say it's 7. I know that for a fact. But Mike, every part of my being wants to take the Lakers at +7 because you're increasing a point spread by 2.5 points, and the only difference is that the team that is favored by 7 lost in Game 1. And this is the trend you're flying in the face of if you are doing that. So it's one of those, I got to talk to Doug Kazarian last night of ESPN fame. I actually thought he put it pretty well. It was one of those where it's like you can feel sound in your logic in betting against it, but when you lose, you're going to be kicking yourself because you're like, of course, I went against the dumb trend that, you know, just keeps on cashing. But like at what point, like there's theoretical, we use the word value, in playing against this trend, but look at what you're at if you've been going up against it.
Yeah, it's It's tough because it's always one of those, like, we get too wrapped up with the word trend, I think, right? And this is, look, it's a trend, right? But it's, okay, let's break down what we're talking about. We're talking about a team that has home court advantage, usually means they're the better team, right, of the two teams that are playing, usually. They lose game one. Then you expect, we always talk about the playoffs, and it's such a game of adjustment, so who has the most to adjust to usually after a loss, especially at the beginning of the series? Or after a game one at the beginning of the series, it's whatever team lost. If you won that game one, you just kind of keep doing what you've been doing, right? That worked well the first time. Let's keep doing it. So it's always, the onus is always put on that team that dropped the game to make the adjustments, and it's a lot easier, I think, to make adjustments when you're at home, right? So it's a lot of these. I just always try to tell people with trends, try to break down how they could make sense, right? Mm-hmm. Now, so do I believe in all situations like this number should be higher for the home team? Of course, and it probably should be significantly higher. Are these astronomic levels, though? Yes, they are. And I'm with you. I don't really know that should be moving a point spread. I mean, JVT, that closed, so I'm looking. It closed 7 here at South Point.
Yeah.
If maybe 7.5 elsewhere. I laid 4.5 with the Warriors on the opening line.
Right, so think about it. By the way,
2.5.
And they're catching 3.5 in game 3. So, like, they were 7-point favorites in game 2, and now it's down to – now it's a 3.5-point spread back in Los Angeles. Like, clearly it tells you –
that 10.5-point swing.
That is the incorrect number. And I think, like numbers folks, since this is a number game, would tell you, take solace, my child. You were on the right side. Except for the fact that the result was not what you – right? Like, it was not what you wanted, and you got your teeth kicked in. And, like, I feel like that's the right way to do it. Like, I want – like yesterday, again, I where my position is, I didn't get involved. But, like, when I saw that number climbing, I'm like, dude, I got it. Like, I want to bet the Lakers. But then I'd be sitting at a dog party yesterday with the only person watching the TV going, God, I hate my life. This is terrible.
Did you bring the beer?
I couldn't find it, so I apparently I looked it up more. I think it's a little bit more like Thanksgiving, like holiday special.
Yeah,
is what I found.
I did tell you it was like turkey brew or something.
So what's it called? I just stopped by a dog bakery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fancy. Did you feel fancy going into a dog bakery?
I felt like a loser. And, like, there was, like, this – I don't want to get into it. Like, there was a couple there, and they were, like, buying treats for their dogs, and, like, they were, like, super into it. And I was just like – look, I like dogs.
You're like buy something and move along. Your dog will love
I was going to say, like, don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody coming in like, oh, you hate – no, I like dogs. Like, dogs are cool. They're, man's best friend, whatever you want to say. But it's just like, like, I don't need to be over the top when I'm buying schnookums from, By the way, we don't get to the details of the fact that they had Cinco de Mayo taco-shaped dog treats there as the holiday special. Couldn't pick anything else from the Mexican culture. Had to pick taco for the dogs.
Wow.
What's his name again? What's the dog's name? Holy smokes, I'm already forgetting the dog's name.
The dog's birthday?
Yeah, I can't remember. Arthur, thank you. Arthur's birthday was a hit. Although, I'm pretty sure he thought we were all there to kill him. He looked pretty terrified.
Only dog
by the end
there
of the
at
night.
a bar, right?
Yeah, he looked pretty terrified.
Yeah, so going back to this though, so I think, look, do I think that trend is worth taking into account? Yes, I do. I think it is worth something, but it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me though, JVT, when we talk about these exact situations, game 1, game 2. How do you then translate that to game 3s like we're going to see tonight and this weekend, right?
Yeah,
which makes it a lot tougher for me as a bettor.
And I actually, because I feel like maybe everything you talked about, because I think you had a really great point. What if all of those things, the ability to make adjustments, playing at home, theoretically, if you lost game 1, you would assume that your role players didn't play very well, so there's more of a chance that guys like Klay Thompson didn't really play particularly well in game 1, will play better in game 2. Is there a chance that actually all of that is equatable to like a 2.5-point spread move, right? Like, is it actually worth that is what I'm saying. So maybe when you're talking about in these trends and laying 7, I guess I never use this term right, but I'll say it. In a vacuum, should you move 4.5 to 7 based off of just a loss and nothing else? No, but if you factor all those in, is that actually maybe worth it? When you're talking about everything that we've discussed, and thus you're actually getting this ridiculous clip. Again, it's only 22 games, so it's ridiculously small sample size.
Sample, yeah.
But I mean, maybe that is just worth everything you're talking about, worth 2.5 points.
And I think that's the other. And hey, we could make this our pro tip, right? It's any trend you're looking at and that you want to put some stock into. And I rarely do with trends. We rarely do with trends. I do think there is something to this one in this very specific instance in playoff games, game 1, game 2. But whenever you're dealing with trends, you got to look at sample size, right? Like how it really is something that you got to look at and pay attention to. Because when you're talking this small sample size, yes, I think there's something to this, but it's still very small.
All right, so with that, we have 2 games today. No real strong trends at all because, well, I guess there is a strong trend. Let's start with the late night game first. The popular trend, and if you're asking whether or not this is baked into the number, it is baked into the number. The Phoenix Suns down 2-0, coming back home to take on the Denver Nuggets. Everybody loves this trend. Go first quarter, first half. How about this, Kelley? This is why, again, I love this because people will bet it. And we talk about being baked into the number. This one, there's no value left in it. The Suns for the game are 4-point favorites. For the first half.
Oh, I haven't looked. Can I guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
3.5.
Bam.
Got it?
Yep.
Yeah.
This is such a ridiculous. And I go back to one of my favorite examples of this. It was actually when these two teams played a couple of years ago when everybody was injured for the Nuggets. It was just Jokic, and they got swept. The Nuggets went back home. They were down 2-0. For the game, they were like 2.5-point underdogs. But in the first half of the first quarter, they were like 1.5-point favorites.
Great.
It makes no sense. And here you are again now. Like, people are going to go in, and they're going to willingly look at this and go, of course, KD, Devin Booker back. I'll lay 2 in the first quarter, and I'll lay 3.5 in the first half, even though the game's set at 4. Like, that's wild. Again, I can understand the thinking behind it, but unlike the trend that we're talking about here, which is, hey, we have a growing sample size of teams that are down 1-0 at home, covering and winning in game 2. We have a growing sample size of this being completely priced out of the market, and yet people keep running back to try to get this, and that's not really the case. And actually, more often than not, you find more value in going against the trend, if to use that term again, as opposed to going with it. Like, this needs to be completely priced out of the market.
I was just going to ask you, okay, so you and I are both on the money line for the Nuggets game 3 here tonight. And actually, this price is going back up to almost near a point of where you and I bet at. Would you get plus 170?
Yeah.
And I think I'm on plus 165. It's going up. You can shop around. You can get plus 165 right now.
I wanted the best number out there.
Yeah. But so does that mean me and you should absolutely be taking a piece of the Nuggets in the first half? I didn't bet it. I think I'd rather let the full game play out. But I guess I want your thoughts on that.
I'm tempted. I will say that.
It feels dumb not to from the math side of it, right?
Yes, I will say I think that does it. Given what we've seen and given the price of where you're at in the first half and where you're at now for the game, I would say yes. I feel like we should probably do it. We're contractually obligated.
I think we need to, too. We should pick this up again on the other side because I got to tell you something I heard from somebody else in the media business about this series and the key for the Suns, and it didn't make any sense to me.
Okay. All right. That's a tease. That's supposed to be my job, but I cannot wait to talk about that and see what's going to happen there. All right. We'll have Kelley's tease about something that didn't make any sense to him. We also still have another matchup at the Eastern Conference, Boston and Philly, and a little bit more here on a numbers game. Don't go anywhere. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hey, there's a lot to bet on the next 30 days. For a limited time, you can subscribe to VSiN for only $9.99. Gets you insight into daily baseball best bets, NBA, NHL playoffs, VSiN's Kentucky Derby betting guide. That is out now. Make sure you check that out. Awesome. I actually got like about 3 or 4 pages in. I haven't had a chance to read through the whole thing, but I do every single year. It's absolutely fantastic. Only VSiN Pro subscribers get access to our daily recap of the top plays made by VSiN show hosts and guests, and tools like our betting splits and more. Sign up now, only $9.99 at VSiN.com/subscribe. Yeah, I like to hear things, glean information from people that are smarter than me in certain topics. So the Kentucky Derby Guide, I always enjoy reading the insights of Tully and others, and very much worth it, especially if you're somebody like me that I'm gonna be completely honest, doesn't really have time to handicap horse racing throughout the year.
Yeah.
Or desire.
Yeah.
That's the other part.
I barely know how to bet it.
All right, so in the off the air, I think we have a smorgasbord of topics to discuss, both sports betting and social.
Oh, that VSiN Plus subscription. That's really where it's at. We got to get that going one of these
There
days.
are people who would very much be into what I just told you guys that I witnessed last night. But with that, I don't like to be that guy. We'll talk about something from last night, too, that I really wanted to get thoughts on. Again, the social experiment type of question. The tease, though, you tried to tell me what you wanted to during the break, and I cut you off. I was like, no, I want to hear this organically. So to reset for our audience, if anybody's just joining us, tell our audience again now, how did you tease this? You heard something from a media member?
Yeah, that just didn't make any sense.
Okay.
It was extremely counterintuitive. This is Stephen A., which I feel bad because I feel like we always gang up on Stephen.
Here's the thing. Can I interrupt you really quickly? And I want to make this 100% fact because Human makes fun of me for this. I am unabashedly and 100% a fan of Stephen A.
So
Smith.
for the most part, I am too, I think. Okay. But there are, he definitely talks down to his audience a bit, right? That is I know everything. I'm going to tell you how it is,
I
right?
love it.
So yesterday he's talking about this Suns Nuggets matchup, and he's pointing.
Did he do serious whisper, Stephen A?
No.
Okay.
First he's talking about something that you and I have talked about a lot with this matchup. It's the Suns don't have the bench players to allow them to be successful, really, okay? That's really what he says. And then without a but or anything, he transitions to Durant and Booker cannot play this many minutes. If they play this many minutes, they're not going to be able to win. So I'm like, what does that mean? Stephen A., if they can't play this many minutes, that means the bench has to play more minutes. So what are you saying? You're saying you don't want the bench to be out on the court, but you don't want Booker and Durant playing this many minutes either. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
I think he's saying the Suns are going to lose.
I don't. That's not exactly where he got to, but that sure is the way I took it, JVD, because that's what we've been breaking down this entire time. You're asking entirely way too much out of Durant and Booker, and even if they give you 70 points a night, I'm still not confident this team can win.
That's hilarious. I got a good Stephen A. story.
It's just. Like, I feel like it was just odd because the way he transitioned from one thought to another, it was like there was no connection between the two. And I'm like, they directly connect.
Hey, man, happens all the time. I speak without thinking all the time. Do you want my Stephen A. story later?
Yeah, no, do it now.
So for those who don't know my background, I'm a journalist. No, I started in radio production, and so worked behind the scenes for a local ESPN affiliate for a while. And we had I'm sure you worked with this when you were in Radio Kelley back in Florida, where sometimes if you're an affiliate, big people come in, they want to use your studio for something, and we have like these bays that you can transition out. So Stephen A. was in Las Vegas for something, had to use one of our bays to broadcast his show. And so, super nice guy. It's also why I'm a big fan of him. Came in, super nice dude, got to meet him and talk to him. So, anyway, it's like this little tiny compartment, right? It's like a little room. And door pops open in the middle of a show, and one of our producers, his name is Bobby. And I'm talking like, Bobby's like, he's like 1970s. Sean, you know who he is. Like, heyday was 1970s, like rock on, like Megadeth, like long hair from Boston, doesn't take anything, right? Bobby's walking down. Stephen A. swings the door open, leans out like this. Right, because that's how small it is. And he's like, hey, is there a Burger King around here? And Bobby's like, yeah, it's right at the street. Wow. Stephen A. hands him a 20. He's like, number one with whatever, and then closes the door. It was awesome. It was so great. It was awesome because Bobby was like the worst person to do it to, because he was just one of those. He's like, are you serious? Like, I'm either taking this 20 or like I'm going to open the door and throw it right back at you. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So
I don't know why my favorite part of that, because I think we've all experienced that side of it, but I think my favorite part of that is that it's Burger King.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Who knew?
Who's got Burger King on the mind like that all the time? Like, I don't know.
Hey, this segment sponsored you by Burger King, kind of thing.
Like, it'd be different if it was Stephen A. out here and maybe he wanted, In-N-Out or something, right? Yeah. But no, like Burger King. Okay.
All right. With that, let's talk about the other game really quickly, because we do have, of course, the scheduling thing always throws me off in the NBA,
it's
right?
Silly. It's absurd.
So we get Boston and Philly today. Boston 2.5 right now, total of 214. We saw this yesterday at 1.5, so we're starting to gain some traction here in the side of the Boston Celtics. Totals at 214.5, as I mentioned. So I'll ask you, I have a bet in this series. I do have this under 5.5 games at a plus price, and that is not looking great now, considering the 76ers took one of those games out there in Boston. I don't think, I said this on the podcast yesterday, I don't think I'm entirely dead yet. I still have some faith, and obviously I'm still technically alive here, and either one of these teams ripping off 3 consecutive wins, or for the Celtics case 4, would be very nice. But I go back to game 2, and Kelley, I'm not entirely sure, is it really that unthinkable? As somebody who came into this series thinking the Celtics matched up very well with a full-strength 76ers team, that the rest of the series kind of carries out like that? Where it's just comfortable Boston victories and they end up wrapping this thing up in 5? I mean, again,
I don't think you're crazy at all, no.
Because I think I keep going back to this premise, and I don't want to say that they're easier to guard with Embiid out there, but it just allows you to kind of focus on what you want to do. And we go back to, this is like a crappier version of Warriors-Lakers, in that you have one team that is going to bomb away from 3, and you have another team that is inherently focused on getting to the paint and or getting to the free throw line. Where, again, I just kind of go back to this, like, I don't want to overreact after one game, and I don't want to overreact after the blowout that I kind of thought was going to be there for this team. But if we're taking, we'll put it this way, of the 2 games we saw in Boston, which one do you think is more realistic to happen frequently? And I think it's game 2.
It's without a doubt game 2. I mean, we haven't really seen James Harden in that game 1 performance. We haven't really seen anything like that out of him in a couple of years.
I mean, look at the follow-up. Look at the follow-up in game 2.
Right, exactly. And I hear what you're saying. I think at least from the Harden that we saw in game 1 versus especially Joel Embiid that we saw in game 2, yeah, as far as their defense overall, it's easier for them to handle that version of the 76ers team. I don't think that's I don't think you're saying something outlandish there. Do the Sixers have a chance in this series? Yes, I think the Sixers have a chance in this series, but not if Joel Embiid's going to be hobbled like he clearly is. And I'm not going to question them bringing him back in game 2 because I can only assume that they brought him back because this is basically as good as the knee's going to get.
Right.
And it's not going to get worse, right? So it had to be kind of a pain tolerance thing, him playing through it. But, he's 4 from 9 from the field in that game. If that's how much offense you're going to be getting out of Joel Embiid, now you're talking about a big man who's really just clogging space for the rest of your offense, right? If he's really not creating himself. So, yeah, I'm with you. I don't have anything in this game tonight. I'm definitely lean Celtics, though. The line is moved that way, so it probably won't be anything pregame for me. But I'll hop in live on Boston if they, for whatever reason, they start off shooting real poorly, something like that. Philly starts off real hot. I will definitely be looking to hop on Boston live. Probably both games that we're in Philly.
Any read on the total? We're back to like the game 1 total, 214.5 after the market kind of freaked out in game 2.
Yeah,
and I didn't really see a particularly big edge here because even if like two things regress and meet in the middle, right, which is Boston's efficiency dipping and then the 76ers efficiency increasing, I still think that you're still in a position where you're going to be falling right on this number. I thought game 1's number was accurate. You had a ridiculous shooting performance. Market freaks out, but now we're back to where we were. And I think this is I also think, Kelley, really quick, this is kind of a lesson where I talk about all the time where you should kind of be static with a lot of your numbers and specifically with totals. Like one outlier performance should not have you adjust your total. And sure enough, what happened, right? One outlier performance, market adjusts way too high. Game goes way under for game 2. Where are we at? Right back. What's the movie line? Where did you find yourself? Right back here with me or whatever it is. But yeah, 214.5. It's the Thanos line from,
Oh, there you go.
Where did that lead you?
I was like, I have no idea what movie you're referencing.
You're not a Marvel guy?
No. Now I know that you
know the line I'm referencing, right?
Yeah. I didn't catch it at first, though.
You couldn't live with your own failures. There we go, yeah. And where did that bring you? Back to me.
You got to go more Josh Brolin for me, okay? Come on.
I can't do it. He's got a very good voice.
The total is interesting because you're right. It's back to the game 1 number, but think about it. That's game 1 where Joel Embiid didn't play. Right, and you're still getting the same number here back in Philly with Joel Embiid playing. Yeah, I've got no interest here. You and I were both under game 2. I'm with you, though. I think this is probably a more accurate number. If anything, I think I'd lean a little to the over here, but this is one I no interest in playing it.
Can I do the Gil bit? We get tweets.
Yeah, what you got?
It's from Tide Poker Quokka. I don't know. Don't worry, JVT. Us dog people feel the same about people with kids. I guess I was espousing some annoyance. I mean, I wasn't annoyed with the dog. And also, I've got some very strict rules when it comes to my children, so they don't bother people like you. We can talk about that another day. When we come back, we do have an update on the situation with Alabama baseball. And look, I'll tell anybody out there that has any criticisms. The system works. We'll tell you why.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
First inning is unpredictable, but you can place a no-run first inning wager with confidence at BetMGM. Make a no-run first inning prop bet on any Friday Major League Baseball game. And if only one run is scored in the first, you'll get your stake back in bonus bets up to $25. Take big swings all season long with BetMGM, king of sportsbooks, and an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Log into your account, sign up with BetMGM. BetMGM Game Center reminds you to play responsibly. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. New and existing customer offer. You got to be 21. Opt-in required. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days from issuance. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem. 1-800-GAMBLER. Offer not available in Mississippi, Nevada, and New York. A numbers game here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. I'm Jonathan Von Tobel filling in for Gil, who I believe is back on Monday. I can neither confirm or deny, but Kelley is nodding his head vigorously. All right, cool.
As far as I know.
I mean, I won't be, so I know that much. All right. So we have an update on this story out of Alabama. Alabama baseball coach Brad Bohannon fired Thursday amid widespread investigation into suspicious betting activity on the Crimson Tide's game against LSU about 6 days ago. So we get the story now of what transpired. Sportsbook surveillance video indicated that the person who placed the bets that were flagged was communicating with Bohannon at the time. Multiple sources have confirmed that with ESPN. David Purdom is the one that reported this. School, of course, then goes on to initiate the action to terminate Bohannon. So there's a lot of different things that come out of this, and I wanted to start with what I think is the obvious one here, Kelley, because I read a tweet yesterday on the air that was essentially saying, hey, man, we ramped this thing up. We had no idea how it was going to go. This is what you get. But my response would be, and as we kind of mentioned really quick yesterday because we're on our way out, well, no, like this is good, right? This thing was flagged within minutes. Everything was taken down. Futures were refunded. The process worked almost immediately. Yeah. And then within a week, think about that. There were old college, point spread scandals and everything in the past. Within a week, the guy at the center of it affiliated with the school was out of a job. I think that when you're looking at this, I don't want to phrase this as like, it's a win, but it kind of is a win when it comes to sports betting, how this thing works, and how the system protects people from fixed behavior. And if there is an issue with the process, it's immediately flagged, it's immediately taken care of. And look at this, within a week, you have something here in terms of a result on it.
Yeah, I know that, and you're right. I know some people are going to think that's kind of counterintuitive. Like, look, of course, it's not an ideal story for us to ever see something like this happen. We don't want this as bettors. That teams are, allegedly divulging inside information or something like that to bettors. No, like we don't want that either. But like you're talking about, we have systems in place now with legalized sports betting in the United States and companies like U.S. Integrity that are working with these sports books to monitor this kind of activity. We brought this up quick at the end of the show yesterday. Matt Holt works with U.S. Integrity. We have worked with, you and I have worked with a bunch here at VSiN doing different shows with, know how good of a guy Matt Holt is, know the company, what they are trying to do is to stop stuff like this and to flag it so that we can proceed forward with whatever necessary from the school side of things, from the sports book side of things. What the counter to this, where some people are going to be outraged by it, is, look, we now have the processes in place to stop this and make people aware of it, whereas before, this stuff likely still would have happened. You would have just never heard about it, and nobody would have gotten in trouble.
Yes, and the other thing is, this is not, at the very least from what we see from the reporting, it's not some widespread like cockamamie scheme to exploit the betting lines for Alabama baseball. It does sound like we were talking about off the air, again, recklessly speculating about what transpired. Sounds like somebody talking to Bohannon found out that his pitcher had back tightness and was like, oh, hey, they don't know about this. Let me go bet this. And this is what transpires. Do we know that Bohannon went out there and tried to get a piece of it? No, we don't know what the details were on that, if this was nefarious or if this was just a slip of the tongue from Bohannon while he's on the phone with a friend who then was sitting in a sports book, was like, screw it, let's go bet this thing, and everything fell from there. I mean, I think Bohannon's been with the Alabama Crimson Tide since I think about 2017, if I remember correctly, in reading how long he's been there. So we'll see, but I think ultimately the takeaway is, like you said, this is a win for like companies like U.S. Integrity who got this thing done, and there is a system in place that kind of snuffs these sort of things out. And it's also worth noting, Purdom put this at the bottom of his piece. FanDuel said it didn't take a single bet on the game. Other sports books also reported minimal betting on it. So again, kind of going back to, this seems like a one-off incident between Bohannon, whoever he was talking to, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah, and this is, I don't want to say it's going to be easier, but for people that are concerned maybe from a collegiate side versus a professional side with this, JVT, like a college bet like this, especially in a sport like this, it's going to be easier for those guys to pick up on too, that there's something odd about this size bet.
It's low limits. You never get bets on it. Like,
I mean, you just said FanDuel didn't take a single bet on the game.
Right.
Like, that is, okay, if one book doesn't take a single bet and then at another book some guy walks up with however much amount of money, it's a little easier to be like, okay, I think something's up.
And so, like, for Gil's audience is very smart. All of our audience is here at VSiN, but for those who aren't really familiar with it, like, that's the whole point. So all of a sudden, you're looking at the screen and you're like, huh, and I don't know how much it is. We don't know how much it is. But, like, let's say, hey, 10,000 just came in on LSU. Oh, hey, another 10,000 just came in on LSU. Let's put a pause on this really quickly, and let's see what's going on here. So it's a win for the system. This is how this thing works. It feels like it got worked out pretty quick. And I will say this, for Bohannon, if it is just kind of like an innocuous slip while you're talking to a friend and this is ultimately what comes of it, man, you've got to be more aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And if that's a homie who just kind of screwed you over, boy, oh boy. That's a tough conversation.
I can't wait to hear the final details of this story because we keep getting a little bit more every day. But it really just feels like in the end, whoever made this bet maybe was a bit of a dum-dum. It's one way or another. I don't know what you did, man.
I was thinking of because we were talking about how, like, so what happens, like, right, like, how do you know that he was on the phone with who he was on the phone with? And I went back to, you remember the movie 21? The card counting movie where Lawrence Fishburne's just beating the crap out of the dude in, like, the cellar of a Vegas casino. Matt Holt's got, like a sock full of quarters, and he's like, who was it? Bang! That's not how U.S. integrity
Great
works.
America Ballpark, right? Yeah, like literally on the diamond, yeah.
Yeah, right there. Tied him in a chair on a pitcher's mound, Hunter Green's coming out to warm up. We'll be done in a second.
It also feels like a weird part of the story, right? Like this happened at a ballpark, too. I don't know. Like, it just wasn't just some guy at home on the website or something. Like, no, it was at the ballpark.
Yeah, like you said, if you copped out that quick, you're like, it was him. Like, man, come on. Tighter lips, buddy. All right, speaking of, we're talking about baseball. Let's hit up a couple of games really quickly. Can we go to Texas, the matchup between the Texas Rangers and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim? Because I wanted to bring this up for a couple of reasons. First of which is, let's go back to one of the first shows that we did over the weekend, Kelley, on a Saturday. And one of the running theories that we were looking at for this matchup, and let's make sure, can you do me a favor? Can you see if there's been a pitching change or anything like that? So I think this is supposed to be Tyler Anderson on the hill for the Angels versus Dane Dunning of the Texas Rangers. And Dunning has not made any starts, so this is going to be a first start if that's going to be the case. Should be a whole staff game for the most part because Dunning, of course, a relief guy, has only made 8 appearances. You just wonder how long that this is going to be going because Dunning's...
I think we're off the board pretty much everywhere.
Right, that's what I'm wondering. So there's got to be a pitching change.
Yeah,
all right, let's scratch this one then because the only point I was going to make is that Dunning, you want to see how long he's going to be out there because his ERA and XFIP differential is pretty massive. 1.77 ERA, 5.13 expected fielding. So if it's Dunning, again, relief guy, don't know how long he's going to be out there for. Yeah. But it'd be interesting to see if you can work against him.
According to my Don Best screen, Angels will be going with Anderson and Texas will be going with undecided.
Okay.
Who is my third favorite pitcher in Major League Baseball?
I mean, he's undecided. He's an Iron Man. he's on the field almost every single day, isn't he? That's kind of See, it's a good joke. I like it. So ESPN had Dunning listed as the probable starter. So we'll see if that's going to be actually the case. All right, fine then. If do I get this? This is why I love baseball too. Sometimes it's not like the injury reports in the NBA, but sometimes as a person who's on the air, you start breaking down some stuff, and then it's like, oh wait, hold on. By the way, it's like 3 completely different pitchers. Can you tell me?
Don't worry, man. Every other game is set. You picked the one game that's off the board.
Right, so let's go to Red Sox. Let's go to Red Sox Phillies then, huh? Really quickly, let's do this.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, so Chris Sale's going to be on the hill here, and this is where, tying in the process from yesterday, right, where you want to find, at least my process, which is trying to find some of these, these deltas between the ERA and the expected fielding independent and playing in those directions. So Chris Sale through 6 starts, not really been great. 29 in the third, 6.75 ERA. However, Kelley, a 3.83 expected fielding independent, which is way better than, of course, a 6.75. Nearly 3 runs of difference for Chris Sale when you look at that. Walks have been a little bit of an issue, but he's still striking guys out at a pretty high clip so far, 10.7 per 9, a K rate of 26.1%. So if we're looking at this, you could get a little bit more out of Chris Sale than maybe the numbers would indicate here. And on the other end, you get Zach Wheeler, who's getting the start for the Phillies, who's been exactly what Zach Wheeler is, 3.86 ERA, 3.66 expected fielding independent. All I'm saying here is that you're looking at this with this Red Sox lineup, which I think is pretty effective, and Sale pitching at a better clip than you might really realize. I think it might be a spot to come in and back the Red Sox here at plus 140 with Chris Sale on the hill, putting forth some numbers that are a little bit better than what initially looks like on the surface. All right, second hour of a numbers game. When we come back, I think we'll have Chris Felica, right? He's going to join us, get his thoughts on the 3 horses that have ruled out, the new field in the Kentucky Derby, and what we're going to be looking for in the Run for the Roses coming up on Saturday.